Both teams won games that they were supposed to on Wednesday, but now a trip for Villanova to the Carrier Dome looking for its first Big East road win of the season. Hey, how are you folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you, breaking down some of the best college basketball games each and every week here on CBSSports.com and, of course, all over the CBS Audience Network. And for more on Saturday's game from the Dome, we bring in Clark Kellogg from Columbus. And Clark, Syracuse certainly had very high expectations coming into the season, a great recruiting class, but Eric Devendorf, he's done for the year with an ACL. Andy Routens, he never got a year started because of an injury in the offseason. How do you think they've been handling all the injuries?
Well, all things considered, they've done a nice job. I mean, it's really unfortunate for those two guys you mentioned, Routens and Devendorf, and certainly for Jim Boeheim and his team, because those kind of experienced two-way players and scorers really can take some of the pressure off young players as you go through a long, difficult conference season. That being said, Paul Harris has really had an outstanding year thus far as a sophomore. He's banging the glass. He's scoring the ball. Johnny Flynn and Dante Green have been excellent. But, again, you're going to have some peaks and valleys with freshmen. And with the injuries, now Jim Boeheim working with a very short roster, which makes it tough as you get into the heart of conference play.
Yeah, he's going 7 deep, maybe 8 on a good day. I mean, certainly is working. But Jim Boeheim's never been a guy to go with a very deep bench anyway. But he's certainly going with a smaller bench this year. Clark, you know, Syracuse, even with all that being said, the injuries and so, they're still leading the Big East in scoring more than 84 points a game. But uncharacteristically, with that zone and a defense that's usually pretty good for Jim Boeheim, they're the third worst scoring defense in the league. What accounts for that?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I would venture to guess that it could be attributable to youth and inexperience. And with that youth and inexperience, Jason, comes sometimes a slippage in the attention to detail. And that's a defense that's really predicated on everybody working together, understanding where you need to be and how you need to be there. So the details of effectively playing that zone may be lost with some of these young guys. And also offensively, young players typically are more enamored with that end of the floor than the defensive end of the floor. So I think that could be part of it. Then the other thing, I think more and more as we look at how college basketball is played with versatile perimeter guys at 4 positions and maybe one inside guy. Some teams put 5 guys out there that can space the floor, dribble it into the gaps, and shoot threes, even their big guys. So I think offenses may be catching up a little bit with the zone defense.
Well, it's part of the problem for Syracuse's defense certainly this year, giving up a ton of points. We already saw a game this year they gave up 107 to UMass, which was a Carrier Dome record for a road team. Meanwhile, you talked about guys that can shoot the three. Villanova's got some. Scotty Reynolds certainly one of those, and if they can get hot, that'll certainly be an advantage. But it's a great point guard matchup. You mentioned Johnny Flynn for Syracuse, Scotty Reynolds for Villanova. Break down the battle of the 2 point guards here.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. These two guys are outstanding. Reynolds is one of the premier penetrators and finishers as well as three-point shooters at the point guard position in all of college basketball, and he makes big shots, and they rely on him to really orchestrate everything they do offensively, Villanova. Johnny Flynn is a freshman, a dynamic freshman, though, plays with tremendous poise and heart and can make big plays. But turnovers have been a bit of a problem for Syracuse, and that's going to be a concern because of how tenacious Villanova is defensively. They're not super big, but they are quick, and they do a great job at flicking balls away and forcing turnovers.
No, they're certainly not big. Does that mean that this is a game in which Shane Clark and Dante Cunningham may be less effective because of a guy like Arinze Onuaku?
Onuaku really does a nice job making it tough to get good looks in the paint area. But, again, I think Cunningham and Clark, and along with Pena, are all doing a serviceable job inside for Jay Wright. And you're talking about 3 guys that are fairly agile and mobile, that have gotten better at finishing around the goal, surrounded by good perimeter players. I think they'll still be able to get some things done against Onuaku inside. I think the key in the game is going to be turnovers. Can Villanova force them? Can Syracuse take care of the ball?
Well, that has certainly been a problem for Syracuse in their losses. Speaking of that, both teams already with 2 conference losses just 2 weeks into the season or into the conference season. Who, on top of that, they've each have one at Cincinnati. Who picks up their 3rd conference loss on Saturday?
You know, when it's really this close, Jason, it's hard. I don't have real strong convictions about either team, so I've got to lean with the home team. I'm going to give the home team the nod, and I think that's Syracuse in this one.
Yeah, it would be Syracuse in this one, and the 27,000 fans expected at the Carrier Dome. Clark, thank you very much, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Jason.
The Orange and Wildcats tip it off at noon Eastern on Saturday. And for more on this game or any other this weekend, be sure to stay with CBSSports.com. Watch everything else all over the CBS Audience Network. For Clark Kellogg, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care.